Hi, this is Dad the Night Coach, and today I have with me a friend in the industry and IFBB judge and IFBB pro, Dr. Victor Prisk, who is an orthopedic surgeon and a specialist in sports injuries and all kinds of other things going on with orthopedics. So, but I'll let Dr. Prisk talk about a little bit about some of the things that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk today about sports injuries, tendonitis, some other things that are going that athletes experience on a day-to-day, weekly, yearly basis sometimes. I've been very fortunate in my career not to have very many injuries, but I have got tendonitis from time to time.
Lucky you.
Yeah, I have 29 years in the sport, and I definitely feel very lucky. But I've been very, very fortunate to be I don't go super heavy all the time, as you know, and I like volume training like you do. But to talk to everybody about what are some things that people need to watch out for, and what are some of the things that they might need to do to be able to prevent injuries and things like that.
As an orthopedic surgeon, Tad, I think one of the most common things that I see are overuse injuries. Things where you're training too much, you're doing too much too soon, too often, the terrible twos, as we call it. Okay? And this leads to problems with tendonitis and joint pain and things. But tendonitis, I would say, would be the most common thing. And tendonitis is a spectrum of problems with the tendons. They can start with just simple inflammation from doing a little too much, and it can develop into a degenerative process. The tendon can get micro tearing and then become real tears, like partial tears, and even rupture. And unfortunately,
that's what you.
I've had this experience. And it all came down to me overtraining. I was early in my bodybuilding career. I had just gotten done doing my first national show in my first year in 2005 Junior Nationals. And I was all excited. I signed with Muscle Tech. I was doing a photo shoot for them. And I got up on the rings out at Santa Monica Beach and ruptured my bicep. Having been a NCAA All-American gymnast before, the photographer knew that. He wanted me to get up on these rings and do some iron crosses. And I was sore from doing this photo shoot. And I did, and it popped. And that taught me a huge lesson about my body and listening to my body. When you have aches and pains,
I'm not invulnerable.
Yeah, that was something I learned very quickly. I was like 31 at the time or something, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm invincible still. But yeah, it definitely gives you some sense of reality going through that kind of surgery. But you know, when it comes down to it, it's just listening to your body. Tendonitis always occurs because you're doing too much. That's one reason why it occurs. But two, it can happen from poor technique. And so if your lifting technique really sucks, then you really need to get with a guy like this, like Tad, with experience, someone with experience to teach you how to do your movements with correct form and when it's appropriate to push through things.
And there's that old adage, no pain, no gain. You know, a lot of people like pushing through the pain. And so some pain is good, some pain is bad. But when it comes to tendons and overuse, how should somebody gauge that kind of thing?
Yeah, so that's one of the toughest things when you're first starting to get into lifting in particular is understanding what pain is bad pain. What pain, you know, this pain zone, that burning, aching pain, that pump zone that, you know, Arnold talks about in Pumping Iron. It's this pain threshold, this pain you have to work through to become a champion. And it's true, you have to get through some of this burning, that aching, that feeling of lactic acid in your muscle, that kind of that pump you get from that is really important. But if you start having pain around your joints, you have pain in a tendon, especially point tenderness, swelling, mechanical complaints like clicking, catching, locking, crunchiness in a tendon that's painful in particular, those are things you have to watch out for. You should not be trying to push through those kinds of things in your workouts.
So now what about, and I talked to a lot of my clients about overdoing pressing movements, because the shoulder joint, a lot of issues with rotator cuff problems, and these are all really tendonitis-related types of issues, right?
Well, certainly. The rotator cuff is made of tendons, and so when you get rotator cuff tendonitis, it can be quite debilitating from your training, and it's almost always a result of doing too much. And so, you know, having been a gymnast and having issues with my shoulders, I had to learn very early on in my training that I had to, you know, periodize my training. I had to move things around in such a way that I kept my shoulder movements further apart. So if I trained chest on Monday,
Right.
I didn't do shoulders again until at least Wednesday or Thursday. So I spaced those out. So you have a chance to let the rotator cuff calm down, let those muscles recuperate, and get their growth response. They have to grow just like the other muscles.
Right, recovery. Make sure.
Recovery is so critical, and this is something that I always talk about, being with GNC, is that the nutrition of post-workout recovery, the protein, the rest that you get after your workouts, the sleep, the time between workouts, what you do to help your muscles recover, whether it be stretching, whether it be massage, whether it be doing ART or something like that, things we can talk about in further episodes.
And there's nutrients as well. That there's supplements and nutrients that can be taken as well.
Certainly, you can definitely try all sorts of antioxidants and other sorts of anti-inflammatory supplements that are out there. So there's lots of different ways you can go with recovery, and we'll go over those in future episodes.
And before we end this particular segment, I always advise my bodybuilders and my weightlifters to only really stick to about one heavy pressing movement per body part per workout. What is your perspective on this?
I agree. I mean, when it comes to the large compound movements like bench press and squat and leg press, even all these, or deadlift, or any heavy upper body movements. I mean, these things are things you should do as a small part of your workout, and then do the more focused movements. I'm totally all about the volume training. Like we are on the same page when it comes to our training. Maybe you'd want more perspective, but Tad and I are like this on our training. We definitely do the same kind of workouts, and you'll see that. We'll let you know in future episodes. We'll do some workouts. Yeah. But I definitely agree. You stick to some, one big pressing movement for your shoulder workout.
Because I get all the time. I get these guys who want to do bench press, incline press, and dumbbell press, and this press, and this press, and this press. And I said, hey, wait a minute. It's okay to do some pressing movements, but one major heavy press movement, and the rest, you really want to go a little bit lighter and work the muscle. Pump it, work those fibers.
I agree. I think it's the best way to go. And if you do too many of those heavy movements for too much volume, it's too much, too soon, too often kind of thing. You will break yourself down.
So if there was there was 2 or 3 pieces of quick advice you give people about injuries or tendonitis, what would they be as we leave this segment?
First thing is warm up really well. Okay, start with a nice, comfortable exercise. Warm up your shoulders, warm up your rotator cuff, whatever you're going to do when you're doing things. Do some leg extensions if you need to. Warm them up. And then secondly, listen to your body.
As you train, listen to your body.
If you have pain, you shouldn't be pushing through it. If you start your workout and you have pain somewhere, just don't push through it that day. Pick something else, go lighter, do something differently. And then third, use good technique. Even when you're doing your cheat reps, every once in a while you can throw in some aggressive cheat reps and things where you kind of push through things. But you should still do those with pretty good control. You don't want to be hurting yourself.
Well, great, wonderful advice, great advice, and thank you very much, Dr. Prisk. And so for all of you out there who are listening, this is wonderful advice. I think in the sport of bodybuilding and the fitness arena, a lot of emphasis is put on heavy movements and pushing through the pain and going super, super heavy. And there's a time and place for all of that. But in this case, I think we certainly, for longevity purposes, as you and I both agree, it's best to take at least a smart approach to your training when it comes to pressing movements or when it comes to heavy duty training. So for Dr. Prisk and for Tad the Diet Coach, we appreciate it, and we'll see you next time. Be positive. This segment was brought to you by Top Secret Nutrition's Pump Igniter for a great workout and a great pump. For a 30% discount on Top Secret products, go to topsecretnutrition.com and use the discount code TAD30. For more information about Tad the Diet Coach, go to tadthedietcoach.com or like us on Facebook.